I'll show you where to go, Jim. Follow me.
Talk Time with Reid Moriarty.
We're here at New Village Arts interviewing Jim Hebert, theater critic for the Union Tribune. Is it true you got to be in The Grinch on the Old Globe stage?
Wow, you do some excellent research, Reid. Yeah, that is true. That was a crazy thing. About 5 years ago, they have a costume that they let someone do like a walk-on role on. So I was they called it like the Whips, which is the Whoville Highway Patrol officer. And I had a little notepad and everything.
What was The Grinch really like?
Oh, yeah. The Grinch was really, really sweaty, as I remember. Because the Grinch has a lot of fur. And the Grinch actually had his own personal air conditioner that he would, between scenes, he would come and plant himself in front of and turn up and stick his face about 2 inches away from it.
All right, Jim, what was your first theater experience as a kid?
Wow, that is a great question. I'm not really sure. I got to think about that. Wow, I grew up in San Diego, and I remember going to the Old Globe in middle school, and I think we saw like a shortened version of one of the Shakespeare plays. Probably not Romeo and Juliet, but yeah, some kind of Shakespeare. I guess that's my final answer. Is
writing or theater your first love?
I would have to say, I don't want to make theater people shake their fists at me, but I have to say writing came to me first. Partly because I got really interested in poetry. I kind of picked up some poetry, and I just loved the way that a poet could string together language that sounded a certain way to the ear. The kind of rhythm and it's almost like music, in a lot of ways. And so I thought it'd be fun to try to do that. Not that I write any poetry, especially not in theater reviews, but although I do name drop poets occasionally, but yeah. So, and then theater was a little later, but it's been a huge blessing and education and a lot of fun.
All right, that's amazing, Jim. How are you like Siskel and Hebert?
I'll tell you one way.
Tell us.
I was covering about 15 years ago. I was covering the Sundance Film Festival before I kind of wrote about movies before I wrote about theater. Well, I was staying in this hotel, and the phone rang early in the morning, and I picked up, and someone said, "Roger, I got to tell you, blah 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 blah," and started going off on a long speech, and I had to interrupt and say, "I'm not Roger Ebert," and so. So in that way, in that moment, I was like him. Someone thought I actually was him.
Of course. So, Jim, how many shows do you see on average in a week?
In a week? There are weeks that I'll see 4.
All right. Thanks, Jim. Do you have some trick for taking notes in the dark?
These are such great questions, I gotta say. I don't have a trick except that over the years I just have learned to kind of recognize my scribbling because I just, it's completely dark and I just write by feel basically. But years ago when they started sending me to review movies and concerts, I used to bring a little flashlight and I tried like pens that had flashlights attached to them, and after a while it's just too unwieldy and it kind of bothers people, so I gave up on that, and now I just wing it.
I like to take notes on my notebook that I get at Staples, but not in the dark.
Not in the dark.
Not in the dark.
Yeah. Well, I bet you could do it.
I bet I can do it. So, Jim, let's play a game. Thumbs up or thumbs down. My Fair Lady or Glass Menagerie?
Wow, that is a really hard choice. My gut instinct is Glass Menagerie.
Phantom or Once?
Oh, definitely Once. I'm not a big Phantom fan, I gotta say.
All right, so Spamalot or Romeo and Juliet?
That's impossible. Oh my God. 2 thumbs up, exactly. Thank you. Yeah.
All right, Bright Star or Come From Away?
I have to say Come From Away.
Yeah.
No offense to Steve Martin. Who did
Bright
Star.
Yeah, Steve Martin, Bright Star. All right, thanks, Jim. So, if we went to NYC, or we call it New York City, what show would you take me to see, Jim?
Well, one predictable answer is Hamilton.
I have not seen it, Jim.
Yeah? Well, I hope you get to.
I would like to watch it sometime.
I hope you get to.
So, Jim, we have 2 more questions.
Okay.
If you are not writing, what do you like to do?
I love to go to the beach. I wanted to go today, but I had to work, so that was horribly unfair. But I go surfing and stand-up paddleboarding, and I also like to go do fun stuff with Xander, who you know, my son.
Yeah, your son.
Your castmate. We have a lot of fun together. So
the last question is, what have you learned by being a dad?
Oh, wow. I've learned that it's really amazing to get to be a kid all over again, kind of through your kids. You get to go take them to do all this fun stuff. And I've learned kind of seeing the world through different eyes, especially with Xander, because he experiences things in a way that's very different from the way I do, and it's very cool sometimes to get to channel his perceptions and his joy. So
that's awesome, Jim. It was nice talking to you.
It was great talking to you, Reid. Thank you so much for having me. I loved this. It was fun.
Talk Time with Reid Moriarty.